Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to the final installment of the DeAgostini Collectibles Build the Ford GT. DeAgostini is your discovery partner into a world of hobbies and interest. They create innovative collectible and build-up model series with engaging narratives on the most fascinating subjects. Explore an exclusive universe of collectibles from classic cars and motorsports to movies and video games. Scale models. Enjoy the experience of building step-by-step our exclusive scale model curated by our experts in design with an exceptional standard and accuracy of high level of details. DeAgostini's collectibles and scale models come with a magazine packed with extensive articles, behind-the-scenes material, little-known information, and rare images that will make you a master of the universe you love. DeAgostini as a brand choice, their expertise goes back decades, and they've earned people's trust around the world. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment for the DeAgostini Collectibles Build Your Own Ford GT. Now, I am on the final pack and the final 3 stages for this build. This comes from pack 23, and I received stages 108, 109, and 110. 110 will finish this off for us. I also received an awesome display case for this, and I'll show that on a separate video. If you haven't done so already, head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and see if this is available. They have many other kits available that they are currently offering. So if this isn't currently available for you to build, I'm sure they will bring it back. And it's a wonderful build and a very stunning car to have on the shelf. And I'm super happy that I'm going to finish this off. I did a few modifications to it, but they weren't very difficult to do, and they don't detract from the model one bit. I did build this pretty much box stock out of the boxes. With the only mods I did was with the electrical wiring and such. But this is fantastic. So let's look at the parts that came inside of this pack. 108, the rear windshield. 109, some of the rear fender linings. And 110, again, another rear fender lining, and I believe the chain for the rear hood, the rear deck lid. Let's get started. And here's 108. This is a great magazine. I absolutely love it. It gives us pretty much the history of motorsports through the eyes of the Ford Motor Company, and lots of great articles here. I learned a lot about the Ford Motor Company and their racing program. So this article here is Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 Excellence. This is a passion for speed. And we have very iconic body style on the Mustang here, probably one of my favorite in the modern history of the Mustang. And of course your first generation Mustang GT500 as it appeared in 1967, and I did build that part work kit. You can find that on my channel for that Mustang. And moving on, again, the 2018 Pony Mustang there. And I love that one. It has European plates on it, so somebody over there in Europe has that fantastic car. And then we have our instructions, of course. Now, in this case, we received the rear windshield for the rear deck lid, and another rear tail light, and the LED for that. We're going to install that. And you can see that there. And the windshield should snap right in with no issues. Let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 108. Let's get a closer look. And here's the windshield protected in this blister pack. Very nice. I'll make sure I wipe it off, remove any fingerprints before I install this. Also, you need to retrieve your LEDs you received in previous pack. And this is wire 08 and wire 09 LEDs. And again, here are the parts you'll need to build this stage. We'll need the LED light, 09 wire there, and the tail lights for the left side, along with the bezel, and FP02 screws. I'm going to go ahead and install the left tail light, and there's an alignment pin on top here that we need to align the bezel up to, and it has the pin on the back side there, and that just will get inserted. We'll put 2 FP02 screws into this from the other side. And there you go, the FP02 screws are secured in there, and the bezel looks like that. Now we'll go ahead and put our lens on there, and it has a cutout for it. Only goes on one way. We'll get that to line up. Now let's go ahead and put the LED in, the right side one. And that LED was pressed in place. It's a press fit. That's what it looks like right there. Now we'll take the LED 08 and we'll press that in place on the left side. And that's press fit in place, and you can see this is the longer wire there, and that's 08. Now I'll go ahead and fit the rear window in place, and they tell us to fit the bottom tabs first, and then everything else should snap in place. Just like that. And I did wipe it off from underneath, but that's what that looks like there. Looks great. So that's all I do with stage 108. Let's head over and do stage 109. Stage 109 is the right tail lamp housing, and these are the parts we received here. We received the chain for the rear deck lid, a bracket, and that wheel well housing. We'll put the bracket on first, and we'll mount the housing to the rear deck lid, and we'll route our wiring as they tell us to do so, and I'll show you that. And we'll go ahead and put our FD01 screws into that. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. And here's those parts. We have FD01 and FP01 screws. We have the chain, and that's very nice there. That's for the rear deck lid. A little bracket that gets mounted to our tail light housing, as they call it, and it's made of plastic. It does have an R on it. Go ahead and put our bracket on here, and it has an alignment hole with a pin that goes in place there. Then we'll put our FP01 screw into that, and that's what that looks like there. Now let's mount this to the car. Alright, to mount this bracket, we need to put our LED through this hole on the side there. Pull that through. And remember, our wiring needs to go through that cutout on the bottom. And this will get mounted down on those tabs. FD01 screws go into this. I put a little 3-in-1 oil on it. And that's what that looks like there with both screws installed. Looks great. And we'll go ahead and use this chain a little bit later. Okay, hang on. And note that the wiring is under that lip right there and going through that hole coming out this side here. And our chain we received, we're going to install that in the next stage. So that's all I do with stage 109. Let's head over and do the final stage for this build, 110. And stage 110 is completing this car, and we're going to install the housing on the other side that we did in the previous stage. We also received another chain here, looks like. And we'll put that little bracket on that housing, run our wires through it just like we did before, and put some tape down to lock everything in place. Now let me give you a close-up of what's happening here. Okay, so you can see our wiring from the circuit board running back here to hook up our tail lights. Now, I did not want them to be in the wheel well, you know, over the tire, over the engine, so I have my wiring coming out from underneath in the middle there. And I did do a complete video on how I did that modification, and I'll put a link down below for that mod so that the wiring is just not shown in the engine compartment, and it's all going to plug in about the middle of the rear deck lid area. Okay. Also, I left the 2 rear wheels and tires off. They are heavy, and it made the car very hard to handle while I was building it, so they are off. Now, what I discovered were the screws that mount those down aren't very long, if you look here. Okay, and they do go into metal housings. So these are the screws here, and they're not very long. So I found some other screws that are longer and the same size, flange screws, and these came out of the Volkswagen bus kit. So you may have to go through your spares box to find screws that are a little bit longer, and those are the ones I'm going to use to install those rear wheels. And I definitely will install those rear wheels before we install the rear deck lid. Alright, moving on. And we go ahead and make sure our wires are hooked up at this point. Our battery's in. I'm pretty sure the batteries are in. And we'll hook up the chains for this. And there's a chain that goes on each side. And it looks like it just hinges on the back there. And we'll look at that to see how it hinges in place. Alright, let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 110. Let's get a closer look. And here's those parts. Here's that rear taillight cover, and does have an L on it. Same thing. FD01, FP01, our chain, and the bracket. Also, they did give us a little tape here. Okay, 2 FD01 screws were put in. I did use some 3-in-1 oil for that. And here's our LED wire. I did tuck some of the excess wire behind this panel because I don't really need it to be that long, because they're all actually going to come out about this area of the car to get plugged in underneath the chassis. Okay, I'm not going to tape anything just yet. I'm going to leave everything free for that. Okay, both tail lights are plugged in the middle of the chassis here. And we'll go ahead and install the deck lid next. Okay, the hood or the deck lid locks into some round tabs right there at the end of the chassis. There's a hole in this bracket here that it goes through on each side. And you can see how it hinges back and forth right there. That's how that works. And the chain is installed on both sides, right here and in the back on those little brackets we installed. Go ahead and do a light test on those taillights. Turn the switch on there. And that one looks good there. And that one looks good there. And there you go. That completes pack 23 of the Ford GT build. This was a fantastic build. I enjoyed it immensely. Had a lot of fun along the way. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. It is a stunning car. Fantastic to see it now finally complete in its full glory. And I'm very pleased with it so far. Open up the engine compartment and you can see looks very nice in there, very detailed, and I'm very impressed with this. and open up a door, and we look at the interior here. Very nice. Go ahead and close the door here, and the rear deck down. Go ahead and look at the back end here. Very nice. A little bit of light on the subject there. So I'm very pleased with this. And there you go. If you'd like to get this for yourself, head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. 23 packs in all. Everything went together very nicely. I showed you in my videos how I completed this kit, so check out the playlist. I'll put a link down below for that playlist. I'll also put a link down below for DeAgostini Collectibles. Check out all their cars and all their kits available. This is just one of few that they have and they've offered out there. So on behalf of myself, and thank you for DeAgostini Collectibles for this build sample. I couldn't have done this without you all and without your support. Thank you all for subscribing and following my channel. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.